Russell Chan. I'm a second year electrical engineering major.
Electrical engineering, thank you.
I'm Alex Fire. I'm a second year mechanical engineering.
Cool. You, sir, who just walked in, can you tell me your name and your major?
Nathan Durham, electrical engineering.
Thank you. And you?
Oh, sorry, Nathan Durham. Electrical
Oh, your
engineering.
name. And you?
I'm Matt Bolton, I'm a software engineer.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you. Well, welcome to English 211, Intro to Creative Writing. I'm just double checking the live stream right now to make sure that I've got everything working and all my ducks in a row and stuff. I came in last night and tested it, but you never know that these things are going to work until they're working. And it looks like 3 people are watching. Sweet. Yo, if you're watching, tell me your name in the chat so that I can put you in the attendance sheet and I don't mark you absent. Look at that. Cool. Okay. Hi, welcome. Basically, the way that this class is going to go every time is that I'm going to do a reading. We have about 43 class sessions. I picked 43 of my favorite short pieces to share with you guys. And then we'll do a writing exercise, and then we'll have some kind of discussion about that exercise. And that's the rhythm the whole way through. I think I'm just going to start with the reading. This is one of my favorite poems. We're going to do a lot of poems because they're nice and short. This one's called The Wild Iris. It's by Louise Glick. It's the first poem out of this book. At the end of my suffering, there was a door. Hear me out. That which you call death, I remember. Overhead, noises, branches of pine shifting, then nothing. The weak sun flickered over the dry surface. It is terrible to survive as consciousness buried in dark earth. Then it was over. That which you fear, being a soul and unable to speak, ending abruptly, the stiff earth bending a little. And what I took to be birds, darting in low shrubs. You who do not remember passage from the other world, I tell you, I could speak again. Whatever returns from oblivion returns to find a voice. And from the center of my life came a great fountain, deep blue shadows on dark seawater. All right. So I picked that poem because I think it addresses kind of what I want this class to be and to do this semester. This is a weird time, and this fall is going to be weird for all of us. I don't know if you're nervous today coming to class for the first time, but boy, howdy, was I nervous walking onto campus before. And I've taught plenty of college classes before, right? Pretty much the only thing I can guarantee you about this fall is that it's going to be weird, right? Lots of schools have already opened and closed and gone straight back to online, right? So we might not even see each other like next week. We have no idea what's going to happen. And so I've kind of tried to build the class with that in mind. The whole COVID thing has impelled us inward in a weird way, into solitude. And while this isn't really compatible with a lot of learning, it makes a lot of learning hard, it actually lends itself quite nicely to the kind of stuff we want to do in here, which is sit and work on the page and work on ourselves, right? Because for me, and I put this in the course description too, more than anything else, creative writing is the establishment and maintenance of a certain kind of relationship with yourself. And I built the whole class around that fact. So we're going to be pretty light on discussion this year. Last year, I leaned on my own improv skills a lot, and I leaned on discussion a lot. And as the world got freakier and freakier, it just kind of withered. And I didn't bring enough writing to the table. So I spent the whole summer completely redesigning the thing. So even if you don't consider yourself to be a writer, and even if you think you're not creative, that's fine. Being creative really isn't going to be the point in here. The point is to foster a relationship with your own language so that you may use it better to your advantage. Because you use words every day, whether you like it or not. right? So even if you think you're not a writer, that's fine. But you use them when you speak to others. You use them when you wrestle meaning out of them, like you're doing right now. That's like a sidebar. Like, how am I doing this right now? Like, I'm having thoughts, and then they're making sounds, and then they're making meaning in your head. It's like the weirdest. It's like a spell every time, right? And this blows my mind all the time. If I sit here and think about it for too long, I will become totally paralyzed by like wonderment. Like, how am I making words? And you even think in words to yourself. So the idea that I'm not a writer, the idea that the sentence "I'm not a writer" somehow frees you from the obligation to practice the skill that is expressing yourself, that's not going to fly, right? So it's okay if you're not a writer. Can I help you? Even behind the plexiglass?
Or a mask?
Oh, I'm terribly sorry. Yeah, I've got it right here.
Yeah. No worries.
Thank you. Cool. Point is, the human experience is basically inseparable from your language. And that's one of the basic facts that we're going to start from in this class. So I'm here to help you cultivate what I think is like the most important skill that you can cultivate, which is the ability to shut up and listen for a moment and then see what comes out. It's hard. It's going to take practice. And you're going to start out bad at it. You're going to start out bad expressing yourself. And it's possible that you will never be as bad at creative writing and at expressing yourself and at accessing your own language as you are right now. That's true for me too. In fact, this might be the worst iteration of you there ever is. You might only go up from here. And I don't mean to say that you're bad now. I mean to say, look at where we can go. And in that sense, today's day one. Friday will also be day one. And the Monday after that will be day one, and so on. Okay, so that's like my opening spiel. I think the next thing to do is just go over the syllabus super quick. Personally, I find it to be like kind of an affront to your intelligence to like read the syllabus at you. So I super don't want to do that. But I have it up here on the board because I can't pass out physical copies to you. The course description that you see here is basically the spiel that I just gave, so I won't read it again. I just realized that I can't have it both on the screen and here for me to read. That's annoying. Hold on one sec. Let me see if I can open it up in a second tab as well so that we can work together. Cool. Okay, so the course description is basically what I just said in somewhat different words. So a note on the times, this one I will read. By being here, we have all chosen to participate in a face-to-face iteration of a college course during a global pandemic. We have all done this for various reasons: financial pressures, academic concerns, a trust in our institutions. But the one thing we can guarantee is that we don't know how it will turn out. And none of our reasons will matter if our health and wellness come under threat. So we're responsible for one another. To that end, I will not be requiring physical attendance to my class this semester. In fact, I can't even in good conscience ask you to attend, right? We all know that, like, very literally, your risk of disease is lowered by not coming to class. So, I mean, we're taking the risks. I appreciate you coming, yada, yada. But I don't feel like I can hinge your grade on this, not on physical attendance. So I built the entire class around the fact that you might not be here on any given day, which is why I'm streaming it right now. And it will be uploaded to YouTube. So this means any day you've got the sniffles, any day you're just like not feeling it, don't come. Show up on the stream instead. And we'll talk a little bit about, there'll be some requirements for you to show that you actually did the writing activity, but they're relatively straightforward. All right, so as far as reading materials go, I will post all of our readings to my courses. You can read them right there. You can print them out yourself if you want. There's not a lot of reading to be done in this class. I think we're going to read 4 or 5 short stories and essays and stuff over the course of the semester, and then we'll kind of use them as discussion pieces, and we'll start incorporating them into our talks as we work through the semester. So once you read one story, it'll probably come up a lot, and then we'll integrate each one as we read them. So please do the readings. They're not long. And as far as materials go, the only thing you really need every single day is a notebook and a pen. And if you don't have those things, I have some sanitized notebooks and pens here for you. I have touched the box around them, but I have not touched the notebooks or the pens since I placed them in there. Does anyone need one today? There's no shame. Cool, you all got notebooks. Do you need one?
I have a binder. Does that work?
As long as you've got paper to write in and a writing utensil, it's totally fine. Cool. All right. Grade breakdown. Coming to class, in big air quotes, and doing the writing exercises, that's 20% of your grade. And then the rest of your grade is broken up into 4 pieces, 4 writing assignments. There are 4 written assignments in this class. Each one, 5 pages or so. Actually, one of them is 3 to 5 pages of prose, and then the other ones are poems. I'm going to make you write poems. I'm going to make you write a lot of poems in this class. And you're going to sort them into collections, number 1, number 2, and number 3. And they're going to be worth a little bit more as each one goes through, because I'm going to give you feedback and hopefully watch you apply that feedback over the course of the semester. Why do I pick poems? I pick poems because poems are just writing without the rules. And so it's okay in my mind if you hate writing and you hate grammar and all that stuff, because poetry doesn't care. And so I feel like poems are in some ways the easiest and most accessible way to get into creative writing. Because if you have a shitty day and you come to the page and you're just like, fuck, that's a poem. It totally works. And I'm not like, I think grammar is pretty like colonial. Like I'm not into being like a grammar Nazi. I get that we have to do it to a certain degree in order to wield language better, but I don't know. It doesn't super interest me in by way of like correcting kids. So I'm not gonna fight you too much on that sort of thing, just like for the record. It's a bit of my personality, I guess. So that's attendance and exercises. And if you don't come to class, all you've got to do is you do the writing exercise, and then you write me a paragraph about the experience of that exercise that'll count as like your discussion afterward. And then you submit it in my courses. And there's one assignment. It's called attendance, I think, or writing exercises. And you submit it there every time. And just do it on the day of class before midnight. Does that make sense? What's that?
Where do we do that through?
It's on my courses under assignments. Okay, so the 3 writing exercises. The one major prose exercise that we're going to do, it's during week 5. There's 14 weeks in this class. The first writing assignment is week 5. You're going to write about your favorite album. You're going to pick your favorite album. You're going to describe your favorite album to me. You're going to do an analysis of the lyrics, and you're going to tell me about your connection to it. I start here because I find that when we're trying to write creatively, one of the best places to start is a piece of art with which we are already familiar and that we already enjoy. And, it gives me lots of new music recommendations. And then, as I said, collections number 1, 2, and 3. These will be collections of at least 5 poems. I'm kind of hoping that over the course of our writing exercises, you will get tons of material for these poems, and you might not even have to do a ton of extra work other than like making some line breaks and stuff. Maybe. We'll see if that works. But you're going to write 5 poems, and you're going to write 5 poems 3 times and submit them at different points during the semester. All of the writing assignments are going to be due on Sunday nights so that you have the entire weekend to work on them. And then we can talk about the experience on Monday afterward. Okay, course policies. Attendance. I've kind of talked about this already. It's going to be a weird semester. If you don't come to class and you don't do the attendance assignment on my courses, that's when I count you as being absent. That's all. You can go back and watch the class again. I'm going to upload all of these to YouTube. So you can go, if you miss a class day, if you're terribly sick or something, you can go back the next day and watch it again and submit it. Shoot me an email, say you were sick. I'm not like a super hard ass when it comes to stuff like that. As long as you communicate with me, we're going to be good. tardiness. I mean, tardiness is also a little weird this semester, but if you're gonna come to class, don't be late. I don't know, try your best. I've been late to classes before, it happens. If I have to cancel class, I do it via an announcement on my courses. So make sure that your email is set up so that you get the announcements when they come in. Late work. I kind of have two modes when it comes to late work in this class. If I don't hear from you, then I'm going to stick to the regular policy, which is you reduce the grade of that work every day that it's missing. If I do hear from you and you have a totally legitimate excuse, of which there will be tons of legitimate excuses this year, then I'm very understanding. So maintain communication with me, and I think you will find that as long as you actually do the work, we will always be able to work something out together. Plagiarism. Am I still? Okay, cool. This is defined as taking someone else's work and submitting it without crediting them, just thus treating it as if it was your own. Don't do it. I'll be forced to fail you, and then I have to do so much paperwork. It is such a hassle to accuse a kid of plagiarism. And I don't want to have to do it. That being said, and also my writing assignments, like, what are you going to go do? Go steal a BuzzFeed article about some other album that you love? Like, don't bother. Just write the thing. Don't steal poems, also. But that being said, all art is theft. So if you want to, like, if you're like, I'm writing these poems and I'm trying to do it in this guy's style, like, what do you think? Just talk to me, right? Again, it's another one of those examples where, like, if you don't talk to me, I'm pretty much going to give you the worst possible iteration of yourself. And if you do talk to me, I'm going to give you lots. I'm going to be very understanding. Okay, and finally, a note on class etiquette. Throughout this class, we will inevitably critique our ridiculous world and discuss inflammatory topics. We all come from varying perspectives, so I will ask you for a certain measure of trust and patience if and when your classmates voice opinions and worldviews that are wildly different from, or even offensive to, what you believe. This is a class about learning to articulate, and the biggest failure we could commit would be the failure to make productive mistakes. That being said, I will take control if I feel like something implicitly or explicitly interferes with a person's right to comfortably exist. And I'm not going to punish honest attempts at discussion, though I will uphold your ability to articulate disagreements. Does this make sense? Right. So you can say things in this class. You can even tell me that, like, you don't believe that we should wear masks. Like, you have the right to articulate that to me. Everyone else has the right to disagree with you. You know what I mean? And like I said, this is a class about, how do I want to say this? This is a class about learning to turn off your editor brain for a second and just, like, see what happens when you try to interface with the page. Everyone will say some dumb shit when they just onto a page. That's how it goes. And I don't necessarily want to stop anyone at that moment. So I work very hard to let people say what they say and then very respectfully interface with what they have said. Does that make sense? Cool. And then the syllabus, or the schedule itself, is down here. You'll notice that I've broken everything into weeks by subject in an attempt to get us a little bit more comfortable with the page. So every single one of these days has a writing exercise. Every single one of these days has a topic, and we don't need to go through all of them right now, but they sort of graduate in complexity, at least in my head, as we move through. And then you'll notice that I have given the last week of class some sort of flex days. That is because, and I have backup plans in the holster for those days, but that is because I fully anticipate just at some point we will probably have to cancel class for, like, some reason, right? Like I said, this is a weird semester, so I'm just giving myself a little bit of wiggle room. And if we end up having just a perfectly uneventful semester, sweet. I'll add some activities there and we'll be good. Let me check with the live stream, see if there's any, these guys are doing all right. Dan, I'm going to get to your question in a sec. That's not a bad question. Okay. Are there any questions so far? I just threw, like, the entire syllabus at you. How are we doing? Solid. All right. So a little bit about me, your instructor. My name is Neil Grayson. Generally, I like Mr. Grayson or Professor Grayson. I'm not a doctor, though I will not correct you if you call me one. I come from a high school teaching background, so I think Mr. is kind of trained into me. A lot of other professors are cooler than me and let you call them by their first names. I studied English and education at SUNY Potsdam with a minor in linguistics because I love language. It's like the weirdest thing in the world to me. It's like the coolest invention. And after that, I spent some time as a rock climbing instructor, and I taught high school. I used to work at Rock Ventures. Has anyone ever been there? No, don't go. It's run by terrible people. I used to work at Rock Ventures, and then I started teaching high school. And in 2015, I bailed on my teaching job, and I went hitchhiking from here in Rochester to LA and back for a summer. It was wild. I'm sure it'll come up at some point. I learned a lot. And then after that, I got a pretty sick scholarship to learn fiction writing at Ohio State. And I stayed there for 3 years. So if any of you are like, I mostly say this because if any of you are super truly interested in creative writing, I think that we can have a lot to talk about because I'm totally obsessed with creative writing. And it's pretty much the only thing I want to do. Currently, I'm working on like a book of short stories, or I'm working on like sending it out to editors and agents and stuff. And I'm also trying to finish it at the same time, LOL. What else? I've also been like a bartender. I don't know. I've got like a list of bullet points of stuff I wanted to say. And as far as like my interests go, I'm always living between camping trips. I'm probably going for like a 2-week camping trip at some point this fall up in the Adirondacks because I love that place so much. And I work for Afroduck Studios as the senior narrative editor. We make video games. It's a studio run out of Columbus. I met a bunch of people there at Ohio State that I super love. And so I do that remotely. So you'll find, I think, over the course of the semester that a lot of my interests tend to integrate. So I'm totally fascinated by game design. I'm totally fascinated by the natural world, and I like how these things come out or have the opportunity to come out in writing. Okay. We're at 8:24. Oh, we're doing great. Cool. So I have a writing activity for us, and then maybe we'll talk about it a little if we have time. And then I'm gonna let you out of here. So pull out your notebooks. I also have pens if you need them. What's up?
Does that have to be a paper notebook? It's not just be Syllabus.
Oh, if you are physically writing, then that's fine.
Okay.
What's up?
You don't mind if you use a pencil, do you? Or do you
No.
prefer a pen?
Pen. No, that's fine. Okay. I kind of started off by saying this, but I'll say it again. You're going to hear stuff like this all day today and probably all week, so I'm a little bit sorry. But I can't really think of another way to start this semester, honestly. And what I mean by that is this right here, right now, standing in front of you, it's probably one of the weirdest moments of my life, right? We're all wearing masks. There's this plexiglass thing. A guy came over and he was like, "Get your mask on." And I was like, "Oh shit, sorry." Like, what if I give someone a disease, right? And I'm trying to teach creative writing and I'm meeting all of you. It's one of the weirdest moments of my life, right? And I can only imagine that it might be one of the weirdest moments of your life as well. You will always be a generation of kids that survived college during a pandemic, right? These are one of these things that mark our lives in a big way. I think it's really important that we sit down with ourselves and talk to ourselves during times like this, especially during times of strife, right? It's good to do it during the good times too, but when shit is weird, that is the time to sit down with a page. So the first question I have for you, and I want you to just write with this. No one's going to read this for the record. This is just for you. The first question I have for you, that we're going to write for 5 minutes or so, and that includes y'all watching on the stream. So get your notebooks out. How does it feel to be on campus? And for returning students, how does it feel to be back on campus? Start there, and we're going to go for about 5 minutes. What's up? Yeah, totally. They are right here. Take a pen too if you need it. Okay. All right, we're going to start with 5 minutes. How does it feel to be back on campus? Two and a half minutes. All right, coming up on time. Okay. So that's the start. We are now going to break. Shut up. There we go. We are now going to break this activity into two more specific parts. Actually, and the first part that we're going to break it into also has two parts. So try to imagine that in your head. Some bullets on bullets. The next question is, what's on your mind today? And I kind of want you to separate this question into two components. First component being specific thoughts that are on your mind, whether they be objects of your attention or even specific phrases that have repeated themselves to you over the course of this morning. Okay, so that's the first part. What's on your mind today? And these are specific things that have appeared in your mind. And the other part is see if you can detect any dominant mood or feeling tone that colors those thoughts, or that those thoughts sit inside of, or that are below or above or overarching through these thoughts. Does this make sense? Right? Try to detect the way those thoughts feel. So I'm going to say the first 2.5 minutes, we're going to do the objects of attention part, specific thoughts. And then when I tell you after the next 2.5 minutes, we'll do the feeling tone part. Okay? So 5 more minutes. The first 2.5 minutes then are what's been on your mind, specific objects of your mind's attention, and specific thoughts that have repeated themselves today so far.
Question.
What's up?
Are you gonna read this question too, or are you gonna look like the last question you said you're not gonna look at? Are you gonna look at this one?
I am straight up never going to read your notebook.
Oh, really?
Dead ass.
No, I'm just curious. That's all.
No, you're good. Okay, so we're at 2.5 minutes. I'm going to pause this for a moment. So now switch over to the feeling tone question. See if there's any kind of dominant mood going on that influences your thoughts. And take a minute to notice how it's separate from those thoughts. It's something different. It's not quite your thoughts. It's like this other thing. And if you get to the point where you can write about the relationship between those two things, do so. So we're going to do this for 3 minutes. About 30 seconds. Okay. And finally, the last component of this, the third question, is describe campus. And what I mean by that is we've just written about the feeling of being on campus. That's cool. Now, you've had the feelings, you've seen the feelings. Put them down for a sec. Be a floating camera for a moment. Imagine you're watching like the opening shots to a movie or something, and your obligation is to describe campus. Try to do that without necessarily the presence of the feelings. Now, you don't have to like suppress your feelings or something. I'm just saying this is more about what is literally seen and heard and smelled, sensory details, okay? 5 minutes, describe campus. Two minutes. All right, coming up on time. Okay. Thank you. You have participated in your first writing activity. I think the thing, and we're close to time. So some days we'll have discussion about the writing activity. I don't think we need to do that today. I've already like coaxed you out of yourselves by getting you to put it on the page. I don't need you to like share me your feelings right now. This is not group therapy. But I hope that you found something surprising or interesting in there. Personally, I noticed that I found myself describing the sky this morning. That was a dope sky this morning. That was like a great sunrise. And I realized like, oh, there's actually a lot of stuff that's still like exciting and cool about this morning, despite this like weird aura of fear that sits over the whole thing. So some days we'll talk a bunch about our writing activities, and I'll ask you to notice if something was surprising or particularly challenging, whatever. But we don't have to today. You have seen the rhythm of the class, and it's pretty much going to repeat itself for the rest of the semester. A little bit of discussion, writing activity, a little bit of discussion. Are there any questions right now? Cool. The only other thing I'll say is a question that I got in the chat while I was talking a little bit earlier from Dan. Thank you, Dan. If you don't come to class and you're watching the live stream and you do the writing activity on paper, like I said earlier, I'm never going to read your notebook. I want you to feel like you can write in your notebook without the fear of someone reading it. Does that technically mean that you could sit there and move your hand blankly over a blank page and just like fake the whole thing the entire semester? I mean, technically, yes, but the only person you're gaming is yourself, right? So sure, you have that right. I'm not gonna stop you from doing that. If you want to waste your money, that's fine. Shit, what was I gonna say? Oh, so the point is, I'm never gonna read your notebook. So it doesn't matter if you do it here or at home. The only extra thing you have to do if you do this writing activity at home is you have to write the paragraph in my courses. And the question was, do I write the paragraph in the notebook or do I submit it somewhere? And you'll see when you open the assignment on my courses, there's a place where I ask you like, how did the writing activity go for you? That's kind of the version of after activity discussion. So just shoot me like a paragraph about what was interesting, what was hard, what was easy, that sort of thing. And you'll be good. Does that make sense? Cool. Then I think we're at time. And if there are no more questions, I will see you guys on Friday.